Okay, let's see. We're recording. Let me lock this focus. All right. Okay, so we're gonna mark up, and I have everything I need, which includes Jelly Belly jelly beans and all the colors of the rainbow. Well, okay, not all, but you know what I meant. All right. A lot of you were saying that this was difficult, and it is difficult. Um, it's not supposed to be easy, guys. I think I've used the gym analogy about 50 times, but I'm not, it's the same analogy. You don't just run a marathon. Okay, you really do have to practice. And Latin can be tricky. All right, tricky, tricky. So let's start with the verbs here. Remember what I said last time too, when we're looking at verbs. Do I have a sheet of paper I can write on? Oh my gosh, I bet jelly beans going everywhere. Just right here. Okay, remember, and this is something that we've been reviewing since Latin 1, and you cannot forget it like that. It just doesn't go away as much as you might wish it to. Mustint. All right, those are your regular personal endings. But you also have perfect endings. And honestly, the perfect tense is one of the most common tenses in Latin. So you see it all the time. Isti, it, imus, whoops, that's a you, istis, erunt. Okay? And you do need to recognize this because Pliny's writing this letter in the first person. So we're going to get some O's and we're going to get some I's. All right. And that's going to mean I. And I point this out because we're about to run into a perfect tense verb. And it doesn't look like a perfect tense verb, um, because it ends in I. So let's do this here. Looking at this, hesitawi. So the neck mediocritor. Now, some of you might be like, well, they're urist, her, but what I encourage you to look at is that eter there. And recognize that the iter is actually an adverbial form. Um, I could use a different color. I don't know. What color should I use for this? Go with an unusual color for me, which is. So there we go. This iter, honestly, most of the time indicates adverb. Okay, not always, but that's sort of where we're headed here. So don't get lost. And I think that's part of this too, is as you're looking at these, don't get lost on one. Like, hey, there's a US. Obviously, that's nominative. Well, wait a second. If I kept going, it's ibis, and there's a little preposition in front of it, so it's probably not nominative. Um, I don't know, speed markups are probably like speed dating. It's truly a terrible idea, and it's not going to lead anywhere good, right? Okay, hesitawi is a verb. Okay. This one is a little bit of a tricky one. Okay, again, let's look at that NE, and the NE, remember, it equals a question mark. That's what NE, it's an enclitic ending, which means it comes at the end of the verb, or it comes at the end of a word, any word, okay? And it equals a question mark. And the problem is that you have to remove the NE before you can mark it. So the whole verb is just sit. And this comes from the subjunctive. You remember that? Sim, sis, sit. Can I do that here? Yeah, you remember this one? Sim, sis, sit, simus, situs, sent. And for those of you that were paying attention in class today, you'll be like, what is with this? This is the subjunctive, okay? The subjunctive is the let's be to fiat. Remember those verbs? Okay. The shoulda, woulda, coulda. But they're also used in all these clauses. All right. Remember the purpose clause, indirect command, indirect question. And that's what we have here. We're getting a series of indirect questions because Pliny is basically talking to Trajan in a kind of, I'm not, I want to say submissive, but that's not quite the tone. I mean, like subordinate way. He's like, look, I'm not sure if this was right or if I should do this, or maybe I should do it this way. Remember, for indirect question, you need three things. You need a ding ding verb, usually a verb of requesting, asking, begging, something like that. Remember, ding ding verbs are those head verbs. You need a question word. Okay. Question words include, but are not limited to, things like quis, quid, quando, cur. I mean, all those. Remember those QU words? And of course, it ends in a verb in the subjunctive. All right. So that's what you need for indirect question. And I bring this up because there's quite a lot of indirect question within this. On a complete side note, I think I volunteered to help out with all night grad party this year. Holy free holies. There's a lot going on there. Ask your parents. All right. Where's the start? Here. Okay, sorry. All right. Anyway, I point that out again because look at that question. There's going to be quite a number of indirect questions in here. All right. Look at the Quanlibet. You guys want to say that Quanlibet is a verb. It is not a verb. It is one of the biggest false friends out there. I'm sorry. I wish I could help you. Why I'm helping you, I'm telling you it's not a verb. Okay. Different though. Look at that NT, especially with the ANT. It is absolutely, oh my gosh. I don't know if that showed up in the video or not. Okay, that is absolutely a verb. Uh, Detour, look at that TUR ending. Now that TUR ending, that's a passive ending. Remember your urus, turus, Marminian All right, AIA, no, 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 no. Fuit though, fuit guys. Oh my goodness, you guys should know fuit is a verb. Desisse, hopefully, maybe this ISSE looks familiar to you. It is a perfect infinitive. And then prosit. Okay, also a verb. Karit, look at that. This is another subjunctive verb. And I'm going quickly through this because I'll probably do another one where I focus a little more on the grammar. I'm doing a little bit of grammar now, but I'll probably do some more later. The EA, whenever you see that EA before a T like that, it's a subjunctive verb. Okay, most of the time. Puniat, oh my gosh, let me try that again. Puniantur. Okay, again, is going to be subjunct or well, yeah, it's subjunctive, but it's also a verb. Look at that NTUR. Um, Deferebantur. All right, notice the passives here. Lots and lots of passives. Because of course he is kind of like, should I do this? Should it be done this way? It is a very obsequious or sort of like, I don't know, like subordinate way of asking questions. Now this is interesting. Secutus is from sequor, secui, secutus sum. This is a deponent verb, and he was a little bit interesting here because he put the sum in front. Normally what we'd see is secutus sum, but here it's sum secutus. To be honest, I have no idea why he did that way. It just is. Maybe he's just being clever. I mean, he liked to show off his intelligence. What well-respecting Roman didn't? All right. Now, how many jelly beans did that take? Actually, I haven't tried jelly beans yet, but I should. Okay, so those are the verbs. Hopefully you got those. If you didn't get them all, you should have, I mean, maybe you got a couple, like maybe you saw the caret, the deferbantur. The sum secutus would have been tricky. You probably recognized the sum. Maybe you didn't see the secutus. All right. Hopefully that was a little bit of like sort of a remediation and what to look for verbs. And of course, I'll go over infinitives again later. All right, now we're going to go prep phrases. Now remember, prepositional phrases. You can have prepositional phrases in the accusative or the ablative. So you need blue and purple, right? Going to be one or the other. Um, Hopefully you guys remember what a preposition is. Preposition, I probably should just make this into a separate video, but prepositions are those little words a, sub, in, de, like prope, oh whoops, ob, oh gosh, odd. All these are these little words. You remember these little words? And these little words are prepositions. And prepositions will always go with a noun. Always. You cannot get away. Once you see a preposition, there's a noun that it goes with nearby. And those nouns can only be in the accusative or ablative. All right, so you get one or the other. That's it. And that's kind of like, oh, wait, it's kind of like a take a breath. It's like verbs. It's like, okay, I can handle this. All right. Let's see. The very first one I see is this robustoribus. Oh God, what the heck? Oh, this pen leaked. Okay, whatever. Um, Look at the Now I guess it's a little bit hard to see because A, it's a single letter, and B, it's followed by this bolded robustoribus, in which the bolded stands out, but don't forget the details, okay? In this case, as I said before, we're looking at the ibus. So this is going to be in the ablative, which makes sense because a or ob takes the ablative. Okay. No, 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 no. Oh, here we go. Odd may, right there. There's another one. Odd may. Odd takes the accusative. So it's interesting. Or ob, which means away from, takes the ablative, and actually the ablative shows motion from, where shows, in this case, takes the accusative, which always shows motion towards something. Um, Odd may in legal letters and odd te usually meant some sort of legal action. So when Pliny is mentioning odd may here, he is mentioning this as not to him as a everyday Joe Roman. He's talking about Adme, the magistrate of the town. Pliny was like, I don't know, the state supreme judge of that whole province. Okay, so all of Bithynia, Pliny was in charge of. My dog heard a fox, ignore him. Okay, so because he heard, because it was all him, this legal right here, Adme, to me, it's very formal. Oh, he's gonna bark again. Okay, let's see. All right, so that's all there. So there's just two. But once you finish with verbs and with the prepositions, like I feel it does help sort of alleviate some of that. Okay, I've got some things marked up. I can take a breath and sort of dive into the rest. Let's look at the nominatives. Okay. My gosh, she's gonna be a pill. I can feel it. Okay. I'm gonna try this weird green jelly bean. I don't know what flavor it is. Where am I? Huh. I don't know what flavor that is. I told you before that the each here is an adverb. We don't mark up adverb. I might have to pause in a second to find out what he's really mad about. The aliquot is in the nominative. And the only way to really remember that is to remember your pronouns. And pronouns are kind of like that pronoun Hades that you talked about in level two. So many pronouns. Um, that's when I would go back and look at that quick grammar guide. I need to post that in Schoology and just give you like a little rundown of what it looks like. Okay. I just have it nearby. Um, uh, discrimin. Okay, hold on a second. I gotta pause. All right. Hopefully that didn't. Anyway, I hope that just took up what it needed to. All right. As we keep going through this, discrimin, that's another tough one to spot. It is a nominative. That's one of those things where I'm like, if you're not sure, look it up. Okay. Look it up. I don't have an actual dictionary. I only have, this is a Pliny book that I have, but I'm sure discrimin is in here. Let me look it up. Okay. So I like doing these types of discrimin. See, there you go. Right there. Can you guys see that? Discrimin, discriminus, neuter, and it means peril, danger, distinction, or dividing line. And what this does is it tells me two things. A, it tells me this is a noun. Okay? Because that end can be kind of like, oh, that's not an ending that you always necessarily recognize. Um, and B, it tells me that it's a neuter and probably either the nominative or the accusative. Because of where we are in this, this is going to be the nominative. Okay. Notice that it is nominative singular because it was plural. It ended in A. Okay, which goes very well with the sit here and the aliquot, which is also neuter. So both of those go very well together. Itatum is another one that looks like it should be an accusative. Uh, Now I won't say this. Well, I will say, okay, basically it's whether some distinction, and because I know whether there should be some separation. Nay, here's the whether that's asking the question, whether there should be some separation, and you ask yourself what should come next. And a separation of something should come next. And that's why itatum here is genitive. Also, itas, itatis is a third declension adjective or noun that I should put on your forever list because it just shows up all the time. Okay. And this of the genitive plural, especially in the third declension genitive plural, is a righteous pain of the rump most of the time. Okay. Tenery is here. That looks like it should be a passive infinitive. It is not a passive infinitive. It is a nominative. And you would know that if you saw that this was bolded and were like, hey, if it's bolded, Miss Campbell probably gave that to me. I should look it up. And you should. And if you did, you would have seen that it was a noun. Okay. Wenia here means pardon. This is actually, again, you look at that, it ends in A. It is nominative. This one actually, I think is just regular old feminine. And look at this detour, which is interesting. Ought to be given. And when you have verbs of giving, showing, or telling, you often have what with them? A dative. And so here you go. That makes sense. A pardon should be given, right? Some of you might be able to guess penitente, penitentia. Sorry. If you think about it, there's a word in English that looks very similar to this one. Okay, you might know that. AE here is another pronoun. AE is always dative. Okay. AE, me, he, Tibby, always dative. Qui, on the other hand, is a pronoun that is always nominative. Okay. Now look at this, Christianus. And that would, because we have this nominative singular thing over here, and we have a fuit here. Remember, whenever you have a verb like to be, there is typically a balancing act. So you need one on both sides, and this US fits nicely into our nominative singular paired. All right. So there you go. And yeah, you're right. When you do these, when you start these markups, it is probably, looking at vocab that you don't know is a crucial piece to some of this. Okay. It is super helpful to at least look up some of these vocab words. And that's why I'm always like, use your dictionary, figure it out. All right. Nomen. You guys should know nomen. Um, Nomen est means name. It is also neuter, which is what the ipsum is. They're both in the nominative. Okay. Kareet. Now, this is one too where I'm looking at this and I'm like, I look at this word kareet and I look at phlogitus and I'm like, well, it could be dative or ablative, and I bet the verb is going to help me out in telling me what this is. So if I were to look at this, and I haven't actually done this yet, so I mean, I know what it is, and I'm really hoping that this book tells me that it's what it should be, because I would like this to be a good learning moment for us. I probably should have marked the page. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so here, kare. Oh, wait. Oh, no, dinner's ready. All right, kareot. Okay, it's a present subjunctive. Look at this one. All right, kareo with a third. Oh, nope, you can't see that. There. Plus ablative, to be deprived, free of, to be without. See how it says an ablative? You need an ablative nearby. And that's why, again, the verb is sometimes helpful to look up. Maybe you know what it means. That's great. But maybe you didn't know it took the ablative case. And that is a helpful thing to know. Because then you're looking for an ablative, and there you have it, the phlogitus. Hold on, I gotta go pull the chicken out of the oven. All right, I'm gonna pause. Okay. Um, where the heck was I? We had the prosit. Maybe some of you recognize the sit again, the sit here, the care. Notice all of these subjunctive verbs. Remember, again, we're in all of these indirect questions. So let's see. Oh, I did the ablative. Okay. So now, notice the puniator, flagita, coherentia. When you see an IA like that, especially with this IA, I think um, you should start thinking about um, neuter plurals. Okay, sorry. I don't know where my brain went for a second. And that's what these are. They're nominative, and you also have the plural verb here to sort of help you out with that. And I'll admit, this is definitely a bit of a bear. Okay. Nomine does come up here. And of course, it is a third declension neuter noun, which is sort of interesting. You're like, why is there a third declension neuter noun here? Um, and I wonder if puneator, hold on a second. All right, hopefully these things are actually pausing. I need someone to help me edit videos, by the way. If you are a good video editor, come see me. Yes, I will give you service hours for helping me. Okay, nominee here, again, third declension, as I said before. The I here, and I sort of took a moment just to because, okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. It's dative, okay? It's dative. Interim here is an adverb. Don't worry about it. The chevrons here tell us to add the in, although the in probably wasn't in the original Latin. Because this is in, the is ablative. Okay, that's another pronoun. I think I'm going to give you guys a pronoun sheet. All right, qui, we've seen before. Qui is always nominative. Hmm. Excuse me. Christiani here. All right, if we had the Christianus here as a nominative singular, then the Christiani here, especially with this here, this NT, is going to be nominative plural. All right, because for them, you're calling one person Christian, some person was calling themselves Christian, but then the Christians were seen as a group as well. Okay, and then hunk and modem, there are a lot of neuters in here because those are both neuter and they go together. All right, so this is the markup for section 2. I know I kind of went off on a couple of tangents, but I really do think those tangents are critical to being able to do this on your own. Um, and it never hurts to go over it again. All right. I will probably post a grammar video, maybe something shorter, going over more of these details, maybe going over section one as well. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to email me if you have a question. All right. Thanks.